While Mitch McConnell believes the rules he set for this trial reflect precedent, Democrats disagree. Watergate prosecutor Nick Akerman is here with me now. And so, Nick, Mitch McConnell released trial rules yesterday and modified them today. How would you say these two sets of rules, and I know they're a little bit different, compare with past impeachment trials, specifically the most recent one? We've seen President Clinton.
Well, it's a little bit different with Clinton because you had all of the documents, you had all of the witnesses. It was all done by a special prosecutor, so there wasn't really anything else to get.
Right.
I mean, what really is troubling today is that they've tabled all of these motions with respect to documents that they need to get. I mean, the idea that 2 weeks from now, they're suddenly going to reconsider and ask for these documents, and they're going to get them, I think is pie in the sky. Just to get the documents that they're seeking from each of these agencies is going to take a couple of weeks just to get it together and to get them all in one spot and to determine which ones might be privileged and which ones aren't. I mean, I do document production all the time, and this is not an easy thing to do.
It's not a quick process.
No,
right?
no, this is what they should have been doing today, is getting those subpoenas out immediately and then deciding what they're going to use of those. But they've got to give these government agencies notice. They've got to give them the subpoenas. There's no way that this is going to happen. And that is really a big story coming out of this today. Now, what the prosecution, or I should say the House managers, have very effectively done is really told their story. They have a theory of the case. Their theory of the case is that Donald Trump corruptly used government funds and government resources for his own personal political advantage to shake down the president of Ukraine. Very, very simple. And they have repeated that in a number of different ways today by going through these documents. What a good trial lawyer tries to do is to repeat his case in different ways so it sinks in. Now, with respect to this impeachment trial, this means that the public, if they're not looking at the show at 3 o'clock and they're looking at it at 9 o'clock, they're going to still hear the same story over and over again. And what they're really trying to do, and they're doing very effectively, not only going through each subpoena that they want documents for, but they're using charts in a very effective way that makes it very easy visually to follow what each of the impeachment managers is saying. So I think that the Democrats have done an absolutely fabulous job today in terms of getting their key points across on a number of occasions and using the repetition, but in a very effective way that makes it a little bit different each time.
Some people watching today even said, wait a second, this feels like we're in opening arguments. I mean, they were just debating resolutions today, but it seemed as though, to your point, the Democrats will do it today, then perhaps they'll do it again tomorrow.
And they'll do it the next day, too.
Yeah,
exactly.
Keep on going.
They'll keep on going. I mean, it's the same thing you do in a criminal trial. You do it in your opening, you repeat several times, then you put on your witnesses, you repeat it through your witnesses several times, you do it in your summation, and you repeat it again. So this is what they're doing. I mean, all of these impeachment managers from the House are former prosecutors for the most part. A good number of them are.
Yes.
They know exactly what they're doing. Adam Schiff is absolutely, I was super impressed with the way he has put this together and his master of the facts. I mean, he really has that down.
Let me ask you this then. The president's lawyers, very different approach. They did not have a projector. They didn't have all the slides, and they didn't go with that tactic. A different strategy, or do you think they were caught off guard today and not as prepared?
No, they don't have a theory of the case. They're incompetent. I mean, really, I would not have hired any one of those people to help me fix a traffic ticket.
Well, there you go.
I mean, I think that says it all.
Okay.
They don't have a theory of the case. They don't have the facts for starters. But I've even seen defense lawyers come across with at least some kind of theory that is unified, is put together in a consistent, uniform way. These people, not even close. I mean, I really wouldn't trust them to defend Fido in dog license appeals. I mean, they are just not that competent. They aren't that prepared. They don't know the facts the same way Adam Schiff has the mastery of all the facts in this case. Not even close.
Let me ask you this question then, though. The Democrats, let's just say the House managers, to your point, if they laid out the arguments better, if they did a better job today, they are still hampered, however, by the fact that they are making arguments in a Republican-controlled Senate. We saw Chuck Schumer with several motions today over subpoenaing documents from at least three different departments voted down. Does it matter how masterful their argument is if that's the situation in which they're dealing?
Yes, it does matter.
Okay.
Because it's not just those senators that are sitting there that they're appealing to. What they're really appealing to is the American public and the electorate in order to get the pressure put on certain senators. What they're hoping for and what Donald Trump's worst nightmare is that eventually they have John Bolton testify, that they have Lev Parnas testify, they have some of the other people from OMB testify, and all of a sudden the testimony is so compelling that these senators look at each other and say, you know, what do we do? I mean, this is not a president that's been around like Richard Nixon was for 30 some odd years. Before he was brought up for impeachment. I mean, it's not like he's got people there that are willing to take a bullet for him. And if they were to gather together in numbers and decide that they're going to rid themselves of this guy and they feel safety in numbers by doing it, they could muster the 2/3 votes that's needed to get rid of him. Because at that point, Donald Trump couldn't do anything to retaliate because he'd no longer be president. So you need to have the public pressure put out there. You need to have the facts repeated and put out there so that there is a chance of that happening.
All right, so you mentioned the prospect of witnesses here, something that seems like it's going to be quite a battle. I'd like to talk about that a little more. They have been a huge point of contention. Democrats for White House and the White House and the Republicans against. Let's play a little bit of that argument there.
21 years ago, 100 senators agreed unanimously that this roadmap was the right way to begin the trial. All 100 senators agreed the proper time to consider the question of potential witnesses was after opening arguments and senators' questions. Now, some outside voices have been urging the Senate to break with precedent on this question.
So you alluded to this earlier about how witnesses were handled in the Clinton trial. Your response to what Mitch McConnell is saying there?
It's pretty simple. All the witnesses had testified before the impeachment proceeding started. Most notably, the most important witness, Bill Clinton, was cross-examined by the prosecutors on videotape. I mean, the most material witness in this entire case is one Donald J. Trump. And if I were the prosecutor, the first person I'd put on the stand is Donald Trump and cross-examine him and let him explain how perfect that phone call was. Let him explain why he held back that $391 million from the Ukrainian government. Let him explain why he covered it up. Let him explain why he wouldn't let anybody testify if everything was so perfect. I mean, you could take him for 5 hours through all of this evidence that you heard today, and I'd love to see him try and explain away that evidence. He can't do it. And that's why you don't see Donald Trump there willing to testify. If he was so innocent and everything was so perfect, he would have been the first guy to walk into that chamber today and offer to provide testimony.
Well, it seems like that's one big question that people have. Well, why wouldn't you have documents? Why wouldn't you have witnesses? Why wouldn't you allow this information if, in fact,
you were innocent?
It's going to exonerate the president? Let me ask you one final question, too.
Sure.
I think it's so interesting. We talked with Leanne, and you heard that a little bit about what it's like for the press covering this trial. Have we ever seen in other impeachment situations the press put restricted like this? I mean, is this common, or are we just in uncharted territory here?
We're in uncharted territory. I mean, I wasn't
around, huh?
Right. I wasn't around for the Andrew Johnson one, but I'm assuming that the press got in for that
Let's
one.
guess they had access.
Right.
we'll just call that one even.
Right, exactly. But no, I mean, I think this is all uncharted territory. You don't have the same access to senators on the floor. They're all stuck there. You can't really talk to people. So you don't really get a feel for what's going on. I mean, even if you watch that press coverage today on MSNBC, I mean, people were sort of speculating as to what was going on without having the benefit of people they could speak to and sources that could provide them information. I mean, I think, look, when you go to trial, anything can happen. The reason why most trials wind up settling is because there's always a risk. You never know where it's going to go. And there's always the possibility that a John Bolton or some other witness could come on really strong, and you could get the same sort of public reaction you got when Archibald Cox was fired as special prosecutor, and get a huge public outrage that's almost like a wave of outrage that could be directed at these senators.
I think one thing is clear. A lot of people think that if we hear from Bolton, it could have quite an impact. One thing a lot of people are interested in seeing. Nick, thanks so much for being with us. You had such great insights and excellent perspective. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.